All right, how's that? See? That's what I'm going to do. So I'll start having more segments and stuff. And I also switched out my chair. So for the ball. So hopefully I don't sit there bouncing. Anyway, so sit still, Taya. And adjust your lights. Hello. Still a disorganized segment, but at least breaks it up a bit. But also it allows me to have breaks, more importantly, because sitting for a while is good. So what I'm going to do from now on, right, is that I'm going to have a few breaks and have a few segments. This is the thing that I like about Jimmy Dawes' stream, is that he just does this mega shit and then clips it later and then, adds that up, right? No, I didn't actually, but yeah, I think I need the ability to actually just have a break and do stuff and do segments. But anyway, so again, I can edit this out, but I think that approach works a bit better. But it also allows me to take breaks. But I am going to change it so that I only do it maybe 2 times a week. Maybe 3, and I'll do one in the morning Australia time and one in the late afternoon evening Australia time. I'm just figuring that so that we get the time zone. So at least once a week, you'll be able to see me live. So and we'll figure that out. And I'm deciding whether I make the replay patron only or not, but we'll see how we go. I don't like paywalling things, but I realize that you have to put something in there. I was thinking of making maybe the podcasts like patron only or something. I don't know. Anyway, let's get on to it. All right. 1 in the morning, as in 1 a.m. Oh, I don't know about that. I said, sorry. I said 1 in the morning. I'm going to do 1 in the morning. ONE. Okay. I'm with you now. So let's do a screen share, shall we? All right. I've got to get used to using my buttons instead of the thing. Is it working? Yep. Okay, good. Now, so Instagram terms of service. Now, everyone's fucking losing their heads over this, right? Just one sec. I was trying to get my kid to close my door. Doesn't matter. Okay. All right. Where are we? Let me just remove the distractions. So, fucking hell, man. Bloody culture wars. Seriously. Like, I saw this because I saw Isaac Butterfield and JP Sears has gone fucking like full like anti-woke bro, hasn't he? He used to be funny. Like now he's anyway. He was funny when he was making fun of lifestyle people. I need to not use the ball. I just realized that because I fidget too much on it. Okay. Sit still, Taya. Okay. But like this Instagram terms of service thing, everyone's going fucking stupid. Why are people being so fucking stupid? First of all, okay, now there's some things to be concerned about, but we've always been concerned. Always. Okay. Most of this stuff has always been the policy of Instagram. Okay, first of all. So Instagram came out with new terms of use. If you're on the internet and you see people losing their minds, fucking calm the fuck down. Okay. Now, it's concerning. Yes. But at the same time, it's nothing new. Okay. It's funny because like I sat there and I actually, you know what? Like I commented the other day. Actually, no, was it the other day? 2 days ago, right? I'm still warming up my brain. Okay. So basically what happened was I was on, I think, Megan Murphy's thing, and there was some dude on there and he said the same, some woke bro bullshit about how white women benefit more from being white than they suffer from being women. And I just went, I did a really fucking, because I I know my literature. I put out a really well thought out, succinct reply. Shut up. Oh, shut up. That's all I do with these people. Just go, shut up. Right? And then he replied something like, oh, look, a Karen who doesn't like facts. And then I replied, well, how about fuck off then? Is that better? Then I got the auto delete response thing. I was like, it was worth it. But also, I understand from Instagram's point of view that maybe having that auto delete is funny and good and great. I agree with it. You don't have the right to say that. Now, he should not have the right to say what he said. Okay? Unfortunately, AI doesn't detect woke mansplaining fucks. Okay? So that's more of a manual exercise on my part. But still, okay. My point is, I apologize. Okay, give me 1 minute. Give me 1 minute. Okay, give me a sec. I'm going to take a quick break because I'm going to switch out my seat. Give me a second. I'm bouncing. This doesn't work. Hang on. I need a new chair. I'll get a new chair. Wait a sec. I'm not sure if, the reason why I'm turning this off is because I'm not sure if I've got ass crack or what. Oh, sorry. Here. Give me a sec. Let me just switch to Soylent Green. All right, we're back. Sorry about that. Okay. Apologies. It's good to have the pressure off, I think, because then I can actually because what happens is sometimes I just need a breather. I need to stop and I need to think and I need to just get my moments and talk shit and, have a drink, get the shit off my face and then relax. If you want to watch it, watch it. If you don't, then, go back for clips later when I actually sound coherent. This is the first time I'm doing it too, so I'm a little bit discombobulated, but I think you see roughly where I'm heading, which is good. Now, so Instagram, terms of service, terms of use, actually. Now, they've come out with a new one launched on December 2020, okay? December. Instagram. So Instagram released their new terms of use that apply on the 20th of December. So everyone's sort of doing the usual fucking idiot analysis of these things. And as someone who's written a lot of social media policy, has all of that sort of stuff, right? I've drafted a lot of these things in the past. I don't see the fucking problem. Also, you just these things have always applied. Always. Okay? There are bits that have been added. I think it's about 1,000 additional words. If you do the word count diff, I'm not going to fucking go into that boring detail. I'm just going to give you the TLDR on it 2 hours in. But still, it'll be a clip. But basically, everyone's going, I'm going to delete my Instagram account because they're going to own my stuff. It's like, well, they always... That's not true. It's not true. The problem is that they are trying, I've said this before, they're trying to make it so that 7 billion fucking people can coexist. You try it. I can't even make 10 fucking you cunts coexist. Yes, I can. We all like each other. It's all good. But it's just people just severely underestimate the scope and scale of these issues. Okay? That's the problem. First of all, okay? I'm fucking with the highlight gradient. Give me a minute so you can see the chat. Hang on. There we go. Okay, that should be a bit better. I know it's not ideal. Sorry, guys. I expected this to be a real-time fuck-aroundery thing. Just give me a sec. Okay. So, now the chat should come up now. I'll fuck around with it. It's just good to do it in real time and all that sort of stuff. So at least then I don't fuck around. Now, but people, you know, like everyone's like, oh, so everyone's going, oh, the fucking Orwellian and all that sort of stuff. Do people not know? First of all, how people just don't know how fucking the law works and the policy works. And it's like, and contract law, right? And all of these things, they just don't understand basic fucking concepts, right? And this sits here as an example of a massive overreaction with some concerning things in it, yes, but they've all, first of all, always been there. Second of all, right, there's not really any alternative solution other than don't use the fucking thing. Third, right, they're under pressure to like get people to play nice. And one thing I'm going to do is show you the Facebook community guidelines on nudity because it's pretty funny, right? But like there's a tension between Instagram and Facebook. There's confusion about like their company and the legal relationship that they have, right? They've got all of these issues, right? You've got an antitrust case where they're looking to like, break up Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp, right? Because of these like data issues and privacy issues and all that sort of stuff, right? We're looking at the fact that these are largely probably unconscionable contracts, right? But nobody's fucking gotten through because no one's really gone with that angle yet. There was one case in Paris, in France some time ago that looked encouraging, but where basically Twitter could not enforce their terms of service and the judge actually ruled it unenforceable and unconscionable because it's an abusive contract, right? Those things are coming out. They will come out. That's going to happen because anything that is sort of unconscionable, it's not a contract. Again, this is America doing what America does, thinking that they're the fucking center of the universe and that their bullshit fucking contracts are the center of the fucking universe. No. Okay? The rest of the world has things called common law. Okay? And I know you have common law too, but I'm just saying, right? You guys are so litigious, right? You think that like your corporations write these unconscionable contracts and then starve people into compliance when technically in any other country you could probably go through, sue them and get it thrown out, right? It's just they don't know how these things fucking work, first of all. It annoys me, culture wars people, okay? You annoy me. Stop reacting to stupid shit, okay? It's one thing to say, like have something to say if you actually know how things work. But if you're just like sitting there acting like the Instagram terms of use is like Big Brother, and it's just like it's not really how things. It's not the case. Yes, there's issues around privacy. Yeah, right. There's lots of competing issues. The thing about the unintended consequence of the fucking GDPR in Europe, right? Like is that fucking experiences are now so shit, right? Yeah, we know you're using cookies. We get it. Okay, great fucking solution to a complex problem. Awesome. Okay. It's pissing off users. Right. I spat on my lens. Now Philip just said, hang on, I just lost the chat. Hang on, let me just look at it because I think you said something. So just because it's on paper and signed doesn't mean that it will hold up in court. Look at all the prenups. Exactly. And that's the thing. And this is, again, this is Americans being fucking Americans. First of all, not understanding things is a very American quality. Second of all, thinking that American process and legal system and like litigation works for everyone else. It does not. Okay? Court cases don't cost billions of dollars in other countries. We've got bodies, we've got industry bodies, we've got processes, we've got ombudsmen, we've got all of these things, and Australia is working through those processes, okay? We're working through it. This is new stuff, new problems complex problems, okay? And I'm going to go through the terms of service because I'm going to explain some things that I think are worth watching and looking at. But at the same time, calm your fucking head. Calm your twits, people. Seriously. Right? I am increasingly of the view that if there's woke outrage and fucking right-winger outrage, and if either of them are saying anything, they're full of shit. They're wrong and dumb. Generally. There's maybe a nugget of truth in it, but generally not, okay? And I'm not saying that that's a centrist view. Don't be dumb about that either. It just means you're not a fucking idiot, okay? And know how the legal system works. And that people aren't all bad and people aren't all fucking evil. And, you know, again, this black and white thinking, okay? I'm just tired of it. This is why I'm changing direction. I'm sick of fucking taking sides on things. I'm going to call out idiots. And anyone who disagrees with me is an idiot because, you know, me, I was just talking about charity a minute ago. I just went back on and said the exact opposite thing that I just said. So, but you get what I'm saying. Okay. Cool. We need to let cool heads prevail here. Okay. Because it was our completely blind and enthusiastic embracing and evangelizing of this new tech that we had a massive blind spot when it came to the cult part, right? And we had a massive blind spot around like privacy and all of those sorts of things, okay? Now we are overcorrecting and reacting and rejecting everything that was good, okay? Because we don't like how it's fucking ended up. It's like, no, we can't keep this hot-headed American fucking war machine to fucking let us dictate our lives for us. Cool heads, okay? Facebook, cool piece of tech. Instagram, pretty fucking awesome. Social media has opened up fucking, you know, opportunities for people that didn't exist before. Okay? You can be, as long as you've got a connection and a phone, you can make a fucking name for yourself and a few bucks. Not much bucks, but, you know, you can make some money. It's a good thing, okay? Democracy, the democratization of fucking of tech is an extraordinary fucking development. Yes, there's a flip side, but that's why cool heads need to fucking prevail and there needs to be process around it. And so screaming your fucking head off about Instagram's terms of service, which in any court of law would probably be unenforceable, just calm down. Calm the fuck down. So let's go through them, shall we? So now, terms of use. Now, what's funny is there's some certain weird inconsistencies here. And it does show, so I think what it does is it shows the confusion, right? I think a lot of the companies don't really know what they're doing and a lot of the lawyers are sort of, you know, piecemealing this stuff, right? That's the thing, is that it's just emerging. Okay, so when you create an Instagram account or use Instagram, you agree to these terms. I would argue that's fucking unconscionable from the gate. Unconscionable from the gate. Okay. Again, I still believe that that's where the legal ruling is going to go. It just needs the right thing. It needs the right circumstances, the right case, the right argument, the right lawyer, and that's an argument that cannot be disputed. Okay. That this is an unenforceable and unconscionable contract, right? It's a very American corporate contract because American corporate contracts fuck you in the ass with glass. And then they go, well, sue us then, right? I've gone through this shit in business with contracts where people will try to slip shit into their contract and they'll go, oh, well, sue me then. And they know that you're not going to sue. It's like with people who deliberately don't pay their bills under $1,000 because they know that it costs you more to pursue. Right? Once you know all these, bad people know all of these loopholes, okay? And that's what this is. But at the end of the day, if you're willing to persist and pursue and fight and not just sit there tweeting and moaning about shit and be a test case, then, you know, sanity will prevail, okay? That said, principle of charity, these people are just trying to do their jobs. Their job, the job of a tech lawyer or corporate lawyer is to protect themselves for all potential scenarios that they can think of. So they're not... The thing about corporate lawyers is that they're not thinking about how they can misuse things. They're not trying to think about what they can necessarily get away with. They're thinking about what they are protected from. So this is the shift in mindset, I think, that needs to happen with when people understand how, so especially like corporates, but big tech in particular, right? As a vendor, I've had these contracts, right, where it's not a fair contract, right? When I've done work with tech companies, and obviously I can't talk about things because they're under NDA, but the general thing is that I've got my contract and I send it through to them. Here's my terms. My contract's pretty good, right? Pretty airtight. And then they go, no, what you need to do is remove that contract and copy and paste ours in. It's unfair, right? Now, if I wanted to pursue that in court, I could argue that I was, as a small provider, they use I'm going to sign the contract because it's, it's a big client and it's my livelihood and all those sorts of things. So you could argue that, and people have argued those people have argued that in court previously and won, right? Contracts get thrown out all the time, right? Like prenups, especially, all those things. They're used as a tool to, but you've just got to be willing to fight it out in court. It's like with tax law, right? This is something that people don't know about tax law, is that everything it's only not allowed. So if you're doing like your tax deductions and stuff, right? And again, not an accountant. This is just something that, again, explaining how the law and the legal process works, right? From just legal studies, right? Structurally. It says not advice, which is that people go, oh, well, is this claim allowed? And you go, well, if you can argue it, I've had an accountant say this, if you can argue it, right, and you're willing to pursue it, then you'll get a ruling one day, right? That's how it works. That's how good accountants see these things, which is that they try their luck, they push it through. If the ATO arc up and do it, then they pursue it in court. If they're a big corporate client, then they've got the resources to fight that and get the clarification, and then you end up with the clarification. You get the rulings, right? So what you need to do with tax things is look up if there's a ruling on it, right? That's what accountants know this. Right? Tax accountants know this. You try your luck. And that's the same thing with the gender stuff. They're trying their luck. It's written down. Yeah, they're trying their luck. But it's tested when it gets tested in court, sanity generally prevails. And if the sanity hasn't prevailed, then you've got avenue for appeal. And eventually there's a decision. Okay? You might not like it, but that's just it's just how the process works. It's the same thing with these terms of service. In the cases that I have seen, right, the one that I was talking about in France, the only thing I could find was written in French, so it was pointless. But I remember it because basically, it was a mid-level court, I think, in France, and they went, no, this is an unconscionable contract, Twitter. It's unenforceable, right? We just need more of that, right? And not to be fucking so focused on the United States, Jesus fucking Christ. Anyway, I think Australia, because we've got the ombudsman, the digital ombudsman, we've got the ACCC, we've got the bodies for these things. There's a whole process. It's just you've just got to get the right argument through with the right person at the right time in the right circumstances, and you can create that precedent, right? That's where Kirabel was significant, because it's that whole, right place, right time, right set of facts, all of those things. It's just that's where legal judgments come from. It's pretty unpleasant for us while we wait. Okay, yes, but that's where terms of service fit. They're just a contract, okay? I'm a user experience expert, right? More than anything. The first thing that if I had to rank the things that I'm good at, user experience is probably the top, because it's kind of all-encompassing a number of different things, which is the relationship between tech and the user and human-centered design, and making sure that you protect that. I'm very big on on that responsibility that we have, right, when we're creating tech and creating experiences for people, that we're not doing harm, right? I believe that's why I was going to go to law school for this, like to do digital law, because I saw the unethical use of design patterns. Now I can do a segment on that separately. I'm going to do one on that because I'm going to talk about Ticketmaster resale. as unethical, as an example of lawsuits waiting to happen. Anyway, so if you don't make something explicit, right? I'm in the school of thought. If you don't make something explicit, right, to a user, and also sorry, I'm not making my arguments well. Let me start again. So with the role of the terms of service from a user experience point of view, right? Because I have to deal with legal all the time. When, like with some of the companies that I've worked with, we've had to, nothing gets through, right, without going through legal. Nothing gets published without going through legal. Legal have to sign off on everything, right? I don't know, like that's the thing that people don't realize about like marketing and stuff, is that you can't just produce things and publish them. It's not just, it's not like Canva. It goes through a process and it goes through legal, right? It not only goes through sign off, but any kind of communications, right? If you get an email from, let's say, hang on, let me just switch so that if I want to edit, I've got the main camera. If you are in big tech, right? I'll get to the terms of service at some point. But if you're in big tech and you are doing marketing for them, right? I've worked for a few of them, right? As an agency, as a vendor on campaigns and stuff. You can't just come up with a campaign, execute that campaign and publish that campaign and it come out of that department, right? You can't do that. What it needs to do is you produce that. It's not just you go on Canva and you post it. That's why social media, that's one of the struggles that big corporations have with social media because of the immediacy of it, right? The tension between the immediate nature of social media and crisis response and all those sorts of things, and also the fact that they need to go through their process, right? So what they've needed to do is completely, if you're not in this space, right? It's called digital transformation in business speak, which is that basically they've had to, what's had to happen the last 20 years in business, right? Just in order to even just, because I used to sell social media strategy to corporates, right? And the workshopping and all that sort of stuff. So what would happen is that we'd start with a workshop, right? Where they would discover that they just weren't equipped for it. They couldn't do it. They weren't able to do it, so they decided not to do it. So a lot of, because I think unless you have, again, been part of this for a long time and run all of these workshops and talk to all of the people and talk to CEOs and all that sort of stuff, the last 20 years, right, especially big brands, big companies, right, they've gotten better, but simply being able to post something and then engage with them on social media, on the response, right? Even when it's positive. Because of the way these business processes work in the back end, traditionally, like 20 years ago, it would have been that you need sign off from a manager, you need, all of these sorts of things. You need to go through legal. Legal's backed up. They go through days. That takes days to get something through legal, and all that stuff. It's like a backlog. Like it's just a massive, massive backlog. And by the time you have something funny or cool to say, right, or a response, right, you are then you've missed the boat. You're 2 weeks behind, right? That's why when there's a great piece of that's why you often see a great agile reaction, like the Oreos. When the blackout at the Super Bowl was a really good example of that. I can't remember what the brand was. Was it Oreos? They all blend into my head. I have to look them up. But the blackout at the Super Bowl, and that creative team instantly were able to capitalize and create some great creative in social media, like within the hour. That's highly unusual, right? What you need for that to occur is a trusting relationship between, you need to have your team lined up. So you need to have it so that if you're like a social media manager, it's not a fucking easy job being a corporate social media manager. So you would have like a whole bunch of tweets written, a whole bunch of content. Yeah, I thought it was Oreos. Thanks, Chris. There's so many examples swimming around in my head, unless I have it written. I've got, yeah. But what needs to happen, right? And this does link to the Instagram terms of service for a reason, because it very much makes the terms of use and the terms of service and policy and the law and all of those things, it means that they have to cast an extremely wide net, right? Because it's just by design, because of the scale of it all, right? Now, the thing that people seem to forget is that there's thousands and thousands of laws in place that are obsolete and go unenforced, right? But no one's sort of saying, well, no one's actually, taking issue with the fact that, what was it? I think there's one like you can't wear pink pants on a Friday or some shit. I was like Googling them. But there's a whole bunch of obscure, random, like all these obscure laws that have just never been repealed, never been dealt with. They're just sitting there and they're latent, okay? Now, that's where the social contract comes in, and that's where we sit there and we go, okay, well, we trust the government to do the right thing. We trust big tech, and this is where we have to maybe trust them a little more. Be skeptical because, capitalism and all of that sort of stuff. Be skeptical, but at the same time, it's necessary. It's just that it's the trade-off. Right? And that's the problem, I think, with this stuff. So in order to be agile on social media or run a good advertising campaign or do anything effective in 2020, right? That is without, let's just like park the culture wars for a minute, right? That is without the culture wars. Let's just say your most banal piece of advertising that has just got a person on a beach, right? Drinking a fucking drink, selling Coke, fucking straightforward. There's 2 weeks going through legal and shit to go through that, right? If you want to do a KFC and try to do something edgy, right, that's going to be backed up in legal for a lot longer. I don't think people realize how long good creative and especially risky. That's why you see brands not taking risks, because a lot of the teams, like the creativity ends up dulled. Because KFC as a brand, right? And I've talked about them before and how that's actually quite a magical and rare thing to have alignment between not only the creative team, but the agency that's executing it and legal and all of the stakeholders in that business. It's extremely unusual. And then if they do have alignment, finding an agency that can execute it well, I think they're mostly internal, but they also do use agencies. But to have that alignment, that's actually just unless you see how it works. It's like, like those people who love trains and, you see the train move forward and most people go, oh, that train moves forward, right? But they don't see everything that goes into that, right? I just everything under the hood that it takes to create a great, edgy, risky campaign, even without cancel culture now, right? And that's where that is now, they're sort of risk averse, right? So with big tech, this is another reason why this woke shit is fine, right? Because first of all, it's if anything, I think it's a sign that going woke is actually the safe option for a lot of creatives. But I don't think people think about this, right? That going woke is actually the safe option when it comes to digital marketing, right? Which is that I'm just going to hide the chats because I'm actually recording a thing at the moment, and people heckling and not heckling, but I don't want to go and get distracted with being disagreed with and stuff. Give me a minute. I'll just turn the chats off. I need to get a hotkey for that. I don't have one yet. Hang on one sec. Chat. I'm just going to hide that because it gets in my field of view and I get distracted. So it's all good. So okay. Kat, have you turned up late? Because if you have, then I'm changing formats. So it's yeah. Okay, so I'm trying to record some content that's actually educational and stuff. So I forgot to I meant to turn the chat off while I'm trying to do stuff, because if I edit, then I can't have the chats, because then the chats don't make sense. Sorry, that wasn't saying you're distracting. Okay, maybe watch it back. I do mega streams with segments, and I'm just getting my shit together a bit more. This is educational content. So this is the lack of two-way conversation part of this, okay? We can talk about it later. So, now, what was I saying? So, yes, with a brand like KFC, right? I think people take it for granted. You know the thing where people are edgy. So, like, think about Dave Chappelle. Think about comedian Dave Chappelle, right? And that when he first did his special, right? Dave can get away with it, right? It's the same with Joe Rogan. It's not, and J.K. Rowling and all those people are the figureheads of the culture wars, so to speak, right? Is that it's not so much, it's because they can afford to do that stuff, right? It's what's downwind from them that has that sort of trickle down effect. But I think a lot of people consume content, like, and especially ads and creative and digital marketing and all that sort of, and business materials and all those sorts of things, right? First of all, most of the business marketing that's out there, especially from a creative point of view, is shithouse, right? It's templates and fucking, it's just cookie cutter stuff. But wokeism is the safe option because I think in some ways it's like a reverse. It's because they're risk averse and they don't want to go on. Start again. So woke advertising and woke content is the safer option. I can understand why they go in that direction because I think it's kind of a signal that mob is worse than that mob. Right? You see what I'm saying? So it's kind of like a backwards twisted thing. Unless you're in the industry, going woke is safe, right? Because it makes the dollars. Also, it has the added benefit of dividing people to the point where, again, this is marketing theory, polarization, right? So because they're so animated over on the right with anything that goes woke. So you've got a whole fucking tribe of American fuckwits and people who are fuckwits who basically just generate traffic 24/7 because KFC, went woke, right? Or that actually KFC didn't go woke. Sorry, correct that. Because some brand started doing woke shit, which is the safe, risk-averse thing that gets through legal. Okay? People forget about the legal department. Again, and also remember, most marketing managers are paid fucking no money. It's like 60 grand a year, right? To do fuck all. They're mostly juniors. They're mostly in their 20s, and it's just a perfect storm. Also, it gets through legal more. Most people who are going to try and take risks. I've been head of marketing for a number of took a few consulting short-term contracts and various other things. And any time that I'm not risk averse when it comes to good creative, but if you try to submit risky content or edgy content or anything like that, while it may be creatively sound, right, it's not necessarily going to get through legal, right? And I think that that's the thing that people sort of misunderstand about a lot of this stuff is that they treat like a brand account. And this is the thing what I was talking about at the beginning of the stream about how we're now expected to be one-dimensional brands with a legal department, right? And brands are expected to be, complex human beings that have a sentient. And it's like, well, no, because we've kind of got it backward, which is that we're still human beings and complex and messy and make mistakes and get things wrong and are allowed to fuck up, right? I don't have a legal department. I should be allowed to fuck up, right? Brands need to be held to a standard, okay? They have a legal department. And the job of the legal department is to avoid the fucking courts if they can, or protect themselves, right? Or dissuade people from acting in a certain way or promoting certain behaviors. Whether it stands up in court or not, well, this is so basically that's the mindset of these sort of, it's protective. It's not how can we fucking fuck with people. It is how can we protect our business so that our business, first of all, makes money. First of all, right? Second of all, so we meet all the KPIs that are assigned to us. Woke is safe. Woke is divisive enough. It gets high engagement regardless. That's why they're fucking doing this gender content, because you post something that says pregnant people and all the TERFs show up, and then all the anti-TERFs show up, and you spend less on your advertising. Ultimately, your cost per click's lower, right? I'm not saying that it's right. I'm saying that cynically, this is how it works. I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying it's just how it works. And also that by engaging in this stuff and engaging in these behaviors, right, you're benefiting them. right? Benefiting them, right? That was a bit of a fucking bogan thing that came out there. But you're benefiting them because ultimately the higher the engagement on Facebook, the lower the cost per click, right? And the cost per million impressions, and their ad spend goes down. Same thing with AdWords. Okay. So it's not so much about the issues, but by engaging, I've done a whole workshop on this stuff for many, many years. I probably should do another one. Actually, I should probably do a workshop at some point, or maybe some sort of online thing. But, this idea that the best marketers know who their audience is, but the good marketers know who their audience is. The best marketers know who their audience is not, okay? Because that group of people, right, you are comfortable alienating. And because what you can do is usually you can pit those people against those people, and it all fucking, increase your engagement, increase the arguments, because nobody in digital marketing wants content that no one fucking talks about. Okay. That's the problem. And that's where it's like, I've talked about this before, which is that you've got people talking about the politics, the issues, the theory. And then you've got marketers who are marketing and politics have had a weird Frankenstein's baby here. And they're opposing forces, they're opposing rules. And what's gold standard in marketing is politically and ethically, politically sort of questionable. Right? So you got to understand that we're thinking about marketing when we're talking about these things being necessary, how they work, and how just people doing their jobs. Right? If you're a 23-year-old fucking marketer who's got to create a bunch of social banners, doesn't want grief, right? And also remember that a lot of these corporate cultures are incredibly toxic, right? Tech companies are incredibly toxic, especially towards women. Again, social media managers, largely women, okay, trying to get ahead in tech, okay, a little bit of empathy, right? But put yourself in her shoes, okay, which is that she's been tasked with an impossible deadline. They work 14 hours a day. Please produce all of these banners. We're going to put all of these stakeholders in your way. We're going to make sure that you have meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting, so you can't actually get any work done. What we're going to do is put you in a situation where you don't have the budgets for a good creative agency. So you're only forced. You can only hire the agencies that are really crap, or really cheap, okay, or all of those things, because most agencies worth their salt, like myself, will not work. I set the deadline. I will not fucking compromise on the process, right? I won't compromise on my rates, right? All of those things. So they create this perfect storm. It's a side effect of sort of corporate culture and capitalism. Again, it's not. Again, I'm just saying, what are you going to do? You're going to produce bullshit Canva banners that are safe and woke and won't get fucking any controversy and won't piss off anybody. Or if it's going to piss off anybody, right? You piss off the ones that are the least, that are a known quantity. Right? And that's the thing about this woke content. So wokeism is a content factory first and foremost. I don't believe that anyone believes what they, Also, all of this sort of compelled pronoun stuff, that's an issue with employers. Okay? Again, employers should not have that power. Right? Got to fucking change the conversation here. It's not about the terms of service. Everything exists. It's the same thing. So when I'm working and I take on a project or whatever, right? I've been in the business long enough that I can sit and I can look at a website and I can see the symptom. So everything that exists in like an online thing. Now, ignore my website. My website's shit because I never give it time. But professionally, I'm good, right? But if I have to go in and audit someone else's work, I've been in this business long enough that I can see the decision behind that thing, the decision behind that thing, the reasoning behind that thing, right? All of that sort of stuff, because I've lived through it and I know. I understand why they made these decisions, the rationale for them. If I don't know, then I ask, and usually it's usually a reason around stakeholders or something else, right? And it's the same thing with terms of service or terms of use, which is that those documents exist as the outcome of a whole bunch of stuff underneath, okay? So yes, it's gone, but this is something where it's just people overreact to dumb shit. So anyway, that was, I know I went on a tangent, but that's okay. So I'm allowed to go on tangents on my stream. And now I can go on tangents and edit, so because the chat's off, so that's good. But I think that people need to put all of these things in context. Stop treating brands like they're people and stop treating people like they're brands, all right? That's one thing. There's this weird, and this is America. This is an American thing, fusing corporates that you are only your job and you are only your fucking brand and you are only what you do and you are only your, identities and all of these fucking points. So American. If you're not thinking about your branding, what are you doing with your life? It's like, well, hang on a minute. If you're not hustling or thinking about where your next buck's coming from, how are you going to get fucking healthcare? I don't know, give people healthcare, maybe that. So, right? I'm just saying that this is we need to flip this and put these things in context, because I've worked in tech companies and I know what happens with these things. That said, there's some concerns. Okay, but I'm going to try and explain some things, right? Now, good to see you, Chris. That's okay. I'm changing my stream, so I'm going to start doing much longer streams with segments, and I'll be editing and putting up clips. So you can watch the replays. I may make replays patron only, just because someone needs some incentive to become a patron. But I don't know. I don't like doing that. So I'll try to do a few more. So you're bound to catch me more often for longer. And okay. Anyway. What was I going to say? Let me think. I'm allowed to think now. So that's the thing. Go easy. So with this culture war stuff, unless you've worked in these things and you know how much shit and fuckery goes on behind the scenes, you're going to see something and think, hang on, what's that saying? It's like, oh yeah, it's a project management joke. Anyone who's a project manager, if you're a good project manager, you won't believe in conspiracies, because a project manager knows that you can't organize more than 10 people, right? And that's just a thing in the industry in general, but in corporations particularly, because they're so backed up with bullshit. So anyway, so that's like why there's woke content, but it's also why these terms of service exist in the way that they do, again, because they're under a lot of political pressure. They're also under pressure with antitrust and all those sorts of things. So they're trying their best. Also European law, the GDPR, all of that shit, right? And it's just like, what do we do? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? We're just going to let everyone just do whatever the fuck they want, and then we end up with fucking Ian and all those dumb fucks? Or are we just going to try our best to have a policy that sets an intent, protects us, right, and let the courts handle it? The running theme, right? With difficult issues, you let the courts handle it, okay? Zuckerberg has said that. Please, yes, please give us rules. Thank you. All right? Not my job. It's not their job, okay? They're not the government. Also, these are the terms of use, okay? And I'm not saying they can do whatever they want. I'm saying these are their terms of use. You're welcome to challenge them and test them in court. That's the thing, okay? So this is interesting here. So what they've done, again, because there's confusion, this is an industry thing. Facebook terms of service do not apply to this service, and then they turn around and link to Facebook terms. It's funny. But what that means is that it's actually, so this is corporate speak. Facebook terms of service is a specific document. So what they're saying is that the Instagram terms of use replaces the Facebook terms of service, and those documents separate each other. Otherwise, okay, anything that is not there can be assumed to be part of Facebook and its Facebook policies. So how I was saying before about policies and all these things, they all interact with each other and refer to each other. And that's why I want to show you the funny community guidelines on nudity, just for a laugh. But okay, so Instagram, again, most of this stuff has been in place since the beginning. The last major update was 2018. Okay, they've always said that they have an exclusive license to your content. I have that in my contract. Okay, that because I can't First of all, I can't fucking sign away copyright on things, like, because it just creates a legal problem, right? I can't, even if I created code from scratch, right, with PHP or something like that, or whatever language you use, or use a framework, I can't then pass the copyright to a client because it's not mine. I didn't create PHP. Again, it's just making sure that I'm protected, because some dumb fuck wants to be well, technically you didn't like create the bootstrap framework, and you said, this is how lawyers think. Lawyers think in technicalities, okay? So what I do is I grant people, and also I reserve the right, because when I'm doing work, I create a number of different concepts, and that means that the client doesn't own the concepts. They get a license for what they use, and they have an exclusive license for that. But anything that I create is mine. That's a common clause, right? That's been in existence since the fucking beginning, all right? And they just clarified that. Okay, so what they did was they just reworded it. Now everyone's going, oh, Instagram wants to own my content. No, they always have. They've always had an exclusive license, right? Okay, heckling me over languages isn't going to get you far. Okay, so now PHP is where the money is, Kat. If you get me other alternatives where people pay money, then we'll have a purity discussion. But unfortunately, because I give hand jobs for crack, as a 20-year veteran in digital, I have to make WordPress websites. So it's not going to go well. If you can get me projects that actually fucking, meet all of the like nerd criteria, then fucking go for it. But until then, I develop WordPress websites. So, to pay my bills. So, okay, now, where are we? So, also WordPress and PHP and React, that stack is largely used. It's widely used, and there's more money. It's one of those things. Some of us can't just like make a lot of money making like one thing with a niche fucking language. Some of us actually have to make money and survive in Perth, building bullshit. Okay. Anyway. Okay, so we'd all love to write in fucking like Ruby and Golang, but unfortunately, those don't exist. Unfortunately, everyone has WordPress, so, anyway. Pragmatic. I don't fucking, okay, all right, let's do it. Platform wars can fuck off. Phone wars can fuck off. Anyone tribal can fuck off. Take that one out of context. When I said tribal, I mean tribal in the fucking... Yes. It's called what you do to make money, and the market doesn't do what you want them to do. And not all of us can like make, money doing things that we want to do. Unfortunately, I have to build websites to make money. Okay. So, and websites are driven by WordPress and Drupal. Okay. And if it's e-learning, they use Moodle. It's just how it is. And that's the thing. We have to work with things that aren't perfect. We can sit and argue about the languages till the fucking cows come home. There's no money in it. It's a waste of fucking time for me. Okay, so I go with what I know and what works and what people are willing to pay money for. Okay, if I was living in fucking Silicon Valley, I wouldn't even be making websites. I'd actually be a working consultant. Unfortunately, I live in fuck-offsville, where low-grade fucking business websites are the only way you can survive. So if that situation changes, then I will look at other languages. Anyway, I'm like moving on. I fucking hate language. Do you know what? This is just, I'm not having a go at you, Kat. It's just you set, this is my frustration with everything in general. My way is the right way, and if you're wrong, then ha 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 ha, make fun of you. My son did this yesterday. We watched Soul, Pixar, and he was like, Coco's the best Pixar movie. And I went, no, it's not. I like Wall-E and Up. And he goes, what's wrong with you? And I went, nothing's wrong with me. I just disagree. I disagree. Oh, well, did you look at your phone the whole time during Coco? No. I just disagree that it's like, so somehow me disagreeing is a moral failing. because I don't agree with you. No, PHP works. It's good. Especially when you use some of the great frameworks that are out at the moment. WordPress powers 40% of the fucking internet. Okay? Jesus Christ. Drupal, like, another 20%. And Moodle, fucking a bunch of others. I'm just saying, fuck. Can we just, like, not be fucking autistic all the time about our thing? It's not my favorite thing. It's not my way. So I'm going to come and tell you how wrong you are because someone's wrong on the internet. Oh my God, what am I going to do? Someone's doing something different to me. Sorry, Kat, I'm not using you. I'm having a go at you. I'm going off on a fucking tangent. I'm just saying, fuck. My feminism is the right feminism. It's like, no, you have one school of thought. I understand that school of thought and I understand your arguments. Your arguments are valid. If you agree with that perspective, that's fine. Other people, liberal feminists, believe something else. Trans feminists believe something else. Fucking hell. It's called fucking, it's like schools of thought. And that's why you should go to university, because then you learn that. Okay. You learn that there are lots of different fucking schools of thoughts and things. Okay. Now, that wasn't you, Kat. I was just rambling. I went off on a riff. Fuck me. Jesus Christ. My language. It's the right way. This is American. We drive on the fucking right side of the road. And we use only the imperial system. Why can't I can't understand those dates. Why can't you put them the right way round? You didn't strike a nerve, Kat. I just get fed up with people who think that their way is the only fucking way to live and the only right way and they have the authority on things. It's like, no, I'm talking about what I think. You can start your channel and it's all cool. And it's like, I'm not saying you have to agree with me. I'm saying maybe if you were at the beginning of the stream, this is part of my frustration with all of this stuff, is that everyone thinks that their way is the right way and that allows them to be fuckwits and behave and mock people and be rude. It doesn't. And I'm not saying you were rude. I'm just saying in general. That was the opening of my stream. And we need to elevate the conversation, agree to disagree, and fucking like actually contribute something other than just snark and mocking and fucking whatever. Yes, there's room for making fun of things, but right, it's not everything. Fuck me. For some reason, I can't even think I don't even code in PHP anymore. For fuck's sake. I just use WordPress. It's a framework. Who cares? Does it do the job? Cool. Does it actually solve the problem? Cool. Okay. WordPress has a very nice ecosystem and stack associated with it. And you can do a lot with it. You can build a whole fucking React app on top of it now. Okay? So, now here we go. Now we're going to talk about React, are we? How shit React is. Oh my God, Node.js is better. Yeah, so what? Everyone does React. That's where the jobs are. Fucking hell. There's other things. Actually, that goes back to my point, which is that you might be right on this one thing, but then if you expand it to other things, it becomes more complicated. It's exactly the same with any issue. Technically, yes, you are correct that you can't change sex. But technically you are correct and logical about something. Okay, yes, in that school of thought, in that particular narrow circumstance, in this slice, yes. But if you fucking expand it out a little bit and see that there's a whole bunch of other shit out there, right? Like, yes, PHP, so what? Okay, but if you're actually a pragmatist and work in the world, you realize that the demand exists in the market for it. Also, I don't have time to learn new languages all the time. Also, I fucking, Jesus. Okay. People make complicated decisions. I don't live in Sydney. Okay. Otherwise, I would be putting out fucking more Umbraco and like enterprise grade fucking things. I would be, doing more like bespoke shit. But the market isn't here for that. Everyone wants WordPress. I've got to make money because none of you fucks will give me any money. All you do is give me fucking abuse. It's not easy to have, again, narrow focus. This is a difference between a fucking narrow thinker and a strategic thinker, which is that there is a number of factors that you balance. Everything has a number of trade-offs. That's what I mean. You might be technically right about this one thing, yes, but when you weigh it up against all these other things and pull all these other levers, it's no different to this fucking live streaming setup. It's all lighting. You put that light there, that looks good. You put that light there, it looks fucking shit. Then you do that. Then you got to turn that down and that up and that level down. It's the same thing with fucking all this tech. There's lots of different fucking settings, and sometimes you have to settle on a less than perfect solution because the client's got fucking $5,000 and 2 weeks and you need to do something quick. But it's easily hackable, yes, and you will deal with that. And then you put fucking, and that's how you mitigate the fucking risks. Okay? It's not easily hackable if you fucking keep it up to date and put your security plugins and stuff in place. I have robust fucking solutions. Fuck. There's plugins for it. And if there's not, as long as you're a good agency and you implement it correctly, it's not the tool, it's the person using it. Most people should not be fucking building websites if they don't know how to build websites. And if you think that WordPress is hackable and you're building websites, then you don't know WordPress very well because it's easily mitigated, is my point. Anyway, you fucking wound me up. But we're talking about work shit. So see, this is what I'm saying about the ability to just stream and say stuff. Right? And I should have not turned the chat off. I need a button to turn it back on because that interaction looks like a fucking schizo's argument. But, you know, like I know my shit, right? I might swear and I might say dumb things and I might might not be the right kind of professional, but I know my shit. I've been in the business 25 years. So just correcting me and fucking mocking me about things that I know a lot about, yeah, that does trigger me. So, okay. I feel a bit disrespected lately by this. Okay. My stream. My ideas. So, Instagram. Can't believe. So, I ranted with this whole thing open, so I'm going to have to fucking... Anyway. So, I told you anyway. Okay. Now, where are we? So, okay, let me just recalibrate and just give me a second. So, I'm just going to scroll because most of it, I've talked about most of this stuff, right? So now what's worth noting is that it interacts. So policy interacts with other policy, okay? Now, so providing our service, so what this does is it provides an umbrella. It's sort of like the glue that binds everything else together, right? So providing our service, so, you know, like when you're talking about these, when they make these sort of these big statements about things, they're clarified in other policies. And I think that that's the thing where people overreach. This is sort of what's it called? Let me think of the word. It's a broad brush. It's an introduction. It sort of shows the spirit of the document and provides context, right? But there's all of these sort of detailed policy things interact. And if people actually knew anything about fucking policy, then they would know that. Okay? So, rather than just reacting to these words, what this is it's just overarching. I've written these policies before. They interact with each other. Now, so what you need to know is that it interacts with the data policy, okay? The data policy has been around forever. There's nothing really new in there, all right? If you think it's new, then you haven't read it properly and you don't know your history. Also, right, they make it clear that it's not the Facebook terms of service, that Instagram has its own terms of service. You might think that sounds like all of Facebook doesn't apply to us, but that's not true. They're referring to the document, Facebook terms of service document. Okay, you got to learn how to read these things. Now, so providing our service, the thing that they did, they actually took the time to explain how the service is funded. This is actually a very good explanation, right? I actually really liked it. And they made it very clear that they don't sell the personal data. Again, they've got policies, the data policy. They don't write. So the thing about writing overlapping and policy is that you risk making it redundant. Like in the legal system, when you go to court or anything like that, if there are two laws in conflict, right, they often end up being redundant. You don't want to create redundancies because it makes them null. That's the problem, is that when there's conflicting laws, it nulls both of them. in most cases. And that's the problem with this stuff, is that people don't understand a lot of the stuff behind this. Also, that's where the hierarchy of the court matters. So, in Australia, for example, when you've got like a Commonwealth law in conflict with a state law, Commonwealth law takes precedent. If you've got an international law that conflicts with a Commonwealth law, right? The famous Tasmanian Dams case is one of those, where there was, the judgment was that because the Commonwealth was subjected to a international agreement, that gave them the power to legislate over that sort of stuff. Anyway, that's boring. But I'm just saying, right, there's all of these things that I really haven't explained very well, and I probably want to at some point, just not, it's beyond the scope of this. But I think that it's important. I just sick of the outrage and people just got flying off the handle without actually understanding how it even works or where it fits or it sits or how it interacts, right? So this is really just a summary statement which is meant to be user-friendly, because one of the original criticisms of Instagram and tech companies, and one that I've actually given and said, and I was talking about this before, about ethics and UX, is that if you expect someone to understand terms of service, okay, or sign a contract, then they need to understand the contract that they're signing. Now, the age for Instagram is 13 years old. One could argue that a 13-year-old cannot sign a contract. That's another argument. But they actually have an ethical responsibility to make it accessible to their users. Again, all of these moving parts interact with each other. All of these, like lots of different levers, lots of different ifs and else and fucking all this, right? A lot of complexity to it, right? Which is that this document just introduces all the others, says the documents, it clarifies some of the things that aren't clear, but it also says, okay, these policies go into the detail, because Facebook's got a very large library of fucking like things that are very clearly defined. I know that because I know them inside out, because I used to, run these things and brand things and all this stuff, right? I know the terms of service inside out. But it's all interpreted there, but it's not in here. Okay. It's made very clear. And that's why I wanted to show you the nudity policy and stuff, because everyone's losing their fucking heads. So it interacts with the data policy, right? So again, they just clarify that they don't sell the data. They clarified because users were confused about what an exclusive license is. So they went to explain that. An exclusive license doesn't mean you're just granting them the ability to use it and replicate it and put it places, right? I would imagine that the Instagram brand team, right, if they found like someone went viral or like anything like that, like TikTok have the same fucking stuff, where if you went viral and you got a brand like some sort of brand attention or brand deal, or someone wanted to, especially because it's like fashion, like photographers and videographers and all of those sorts of things, and it's a lot of creativity on TikTok. What they need, they're going, how do we protect our business? Okay, lawyers run through scenarios in court in their head based on like known things. Okay, so what they would have done is they would have gone, okay, what are the potential unintended like consequences, but not from a political or ethical point of view, but from a protection of the business point of view. So if someone goes viral, right, with a beautiful photograph, right, I'm going to use an example, a famous photograph example. Let's use that in the Perth Zoo, the giraffe kissing its baby on the head. Remember that photo? Imagine if that you'd taken that, a snapshot, right? And that went viral on Instagram, and that became something where the news were putting it on there. People were using it. It became a meme, right? People were using it, unauthorized use, all those sorts of things, right? And it became a thing. Instagram are trying to protect themselves from liability for someone using it on the platform or reusing it and all those sorts of things. It's not... I know how these brand teams work. They would probably approach the creator and pay them. That's the thing. In reality, they would likely pay them. Okay, it's just, there's how things are when they're written down, and then there's the processes and people and the right thing to do and all of those things. It's like, like I talked about all those like obscure laws that they're not enforced, but there's also norms and conventions and process and things that are just, the right thing to do. Just because something's written down, I think this is people, again, can we just be less fucking autistic, please? And the letter of those people that like read the letter of a document, they're accountants, fucking accountant people, accountant brains. And they go, well, no, like, they go word by word. What's the meaning of that word? It's like lawyer larping. They're not lawyers. They're not trained lawyers, because trained lawyers know how to interpret things, right? And are trained to fucking understand how laws interact with each other. But these amateur fucking armchair lawyer fucks who sit there and go, well, what is the meaning of hate? It's defined and it interacts, and we know this stuff, okay? We know it. It's defined in the courts. Right? There's a push for a redefinition of that, and that's going to be fought out in the courts. But people just like waxing lyrical over dumb shit. Anyway, I'm just saying, right? And so these things are established terms with established meanings, all right? Now, so it interacts. What was my point? So, you've got all these things, Instagram privacy and security setting. Oh, sorry. Let's start again. So data policy, right? Interacts with that. That's been around forever. Again, with the actual policy, I have concerns. Okay, I do. Because in that data policy, they have the ability to access your phone and your contacts and your conversations and your texts and your camera and, all of that sort of stuff and your behaviors. But they've done that always. Okay, that's the thing. It's always been there. Right? They've contracted out this stuff years ago. Right? It's been there. It's just suddenly it's new. What? Because it's in plain language. The dummies now fucking are suddenly aware of like all of this. It's like, no, it's always been this way. Okay. It's just, they've rewritten a bunch of stuff to make it clearer. I'm starting to think that maybe it's not a good thing that dummies can fucking understand this stuff, because then dummies run off the fucking mouth. So who can use Instagram? We want our service to be as, again, when people interpret, let's say this gets to court, right? The judges will not interpret this, right? They'll go, okay, safe. They won't take one word. They won't take one word and interpret that word. Sometimes it comes down to that, but that's not how it works in practice. With statutory interpretation and all those things, the meaning of it, the intention behind the words is more important. So it's actually more about making sure. So when you're trying to define that word, what you do is you try to give, first of all, the most charitable definition of the word, right? To make it clear. It's only the fucking asshole, fuckwit, loophole pricks that, like, if fewer lawyers were sitting around arguing about the meaning of the word safe, and more of them were looking at the actual overall intentions, we would be much better off. Okay. But the role of the judge is to tell that lawyer to fuck off. It's like, because it says, we want our service to be as open and inclusive as possible. And people go, well, what does inclusive mean? Well, okay, yes, there's some discussion about what that means. Okay. However, right, you've got to take it in You take it in context, okay, and how it interacts with all the others. So also it's in plain language. So it needs to have like language that's understood. Safe. Most people know what safe means. Okay. All these fucking accountant lawyer fucks who would have 85 pages of fucking ifs and else. See, this is the thing with my business contract. My business contract's 6 pages, because I realized very early on that if you put ifs and that's and you end up actually creating it so that you actually end up too much detail. You end up creating a problem for yourself because you've been too prescriptive. If you keep it general and leave it with good faith and an intention, right? It's much easier. It's a much better contract, right? And then you fall back on common sense, which again, courts, they fall back. This is where the dictionary discussions have to come in and those sorts of things. But courts depend on definitions, the intentions, precedent. There's a number of different things, legal precedent, how other judges have interpreted these sorts of things, look at similar cases, all of those sorts of things. It's not a problem. They're trying to write a fucking terms of use that 13-year-olds can understand. Okay? Now, so you must be at least 13 years old or the minimum legal age in your country to use Instagram. You must not be prohibited from receiving any aspect of our service. Okay? You must not have previously disabled, we must not have previously disabled your account for violation of law or any of our policies. So technically, because I got banned from Instagram, like my old account years ago, because I took a photo of my kid with his bum out and I didn't think about it. But they've since clarified that. I didn't know about that law, right? And they've since gone ahead and clarified that. I might try and get my account back at some point, but whatever. And you must not be a convicted sex offender. Now, people are overthinking that and they're going, well, how do you know that? I think, again, there's a common sense aspect to this stuff. I think you're all spending way too much time being amateur lawyers and not enough time fucking actually just working on yourself. Okay, because this is just like, well, yeah, if it comes to their attention that you're a convicted sex offender and you're on Instagram talking to 13-year-olds, it protects them if someone says something. Okay, it's grounds for them to act. It's not something that they don't have a sex offender tracking fucking convicted sex offender department with 5 people sitting there listening to phone. It doesn't work that way. This is there so that if it comes to their attention, then they can get rid of you. Protects them. It's not how to behave. It's how to fucking protect yourself. Right? That's what my contract looks like. It's like operationally, my contract is nothing really like how I operate. I operate largely on good faith, trust, and common sense. Right? And making sure, but my contract says fucking all these mechanisms if these things happen, right? Because it protects me legally. That's the role of a contract. People! There's a few things that are just a bit confusing. So you don't have to disclose your identity on Instagram, but you must provide us with accurate and up-to-date information, including registration. So it's a bit confusing, right? Also, you may not impersonate someone or something you aren't, which is good. Again, you've got a lot of, you got to look at the lifestyle, scam stuff. You know, you can tell that this is advertiser-friendly terms for a start because they've got a thing about counterfeit stuff as well, right? You can't do anything unlawful, misleading, fraudulent, or for an illegal or unauthorized purpose. Now, I sort of fell over on the unauthorized because that was interesting as like unauthorized by whom? So there's a question there. But again, I think that's something that's established in law and they will leave to interpretation. Again, laws are there, words are there to be interpreted and ruled on. They're not it's not a manifesto. Everyone's treating fucking terms of service like they're a fucking intention or like a manifesto or prescriptive. They're not. They're there to protect the company if shit goes down. Okay? Now, so you can't violate or help or encourage others to violate. These terms are our policies, including in particular community guidelines, Facebook platform terms and developer policies, and music guidelines, right? Fair enough. Community guidelines, conduct yourself, don't be a fuckwit. Platform terms, developers, don't do Cambridge Analytica shit. Music guidelines, DMCA fucking bullshit, okay? Yes, I know that I'm skimming over, but the reason is because you don't need to fucking worry. Because unless you're a lawyer, you don't need to worry about it. Or unless you're being fucking, honestly, a lot of the people that get banned should have been banned. When I got that report, I'd be surprised if I didn't get that report because I crossed the line. Okay, that's the thing. And I think that what we could do is probably put some fines in place or something, some sort of thing where we can go, like that thing with speeding where, if you get fined and then it's up to individuals to sort of weigh up whether they will pay the fine and it's worth it or not for the little things, right? But then you've got the thing that has to be in place here, and I think we're still figuring it out, and I think we're heading in this direction, is that there needs to be some sort of proportional reaction. It needs to be like, it's almost like the justice system fucking evolved over thousands of years and they've got it right somehow. And they're still not perfect, but they're getting it right, which is this idea that, the punishment fitting the crime. And I love the idea of there being, I think that it would be a good revenue raiser to fucking have a $10 fine. So you could pay a $10 fine. That's a way, get rid of advertising then. So you don't need the PPC model, which is the thing that's causing a lot of this problem. And also just fucking have a fine system in place. And if you can weigh up whether you want to get fined or not. I would have paid that $10 fine for that fuckwit. Right? But if it's repeated behavior, like demerits, all those sorts of things, right? And I'm not saying social scoring systems and all that thing. I'm saying there needs to be some sort of creative, workable solution here, right? And that's where it just becomes a thing. So, and again, it just links to all the other policies. So you can't do anything to interfere with. This was an interesting one. This is encouraging, right? You can't do anything to interfere with or impair the intended operation of the service. Now, it looks to me like they've become aware of the platform manipulation stuff on the side of TRAs and those sorts of like extreme and like MRAs and all those fuckwits on the right as well, right? They're doing the same thing, right? Which is that, so it includes misusing any reporting, dispute, or appeals channel, such as by making fraudulent or groundless reports or appeals. That's fantastic, right? That is actually something that we should be celebrating, which is, that was actually lacking, right? I wish Twitter had this, because that's how you can get them. You can't attempt to create accounts or access or collect information in unauthorized ways. Now, again, it's just, again, you got to look what is unauthorized. Well, that doesn't mean according to Instagram. It's something that's just defined, and you can research that and look into it. The policies, all of the policies support those definitions. That's not the only definition. It's defined, and I'm going to use the nudity one as an example in a minute, right? So you can't sell, license, or purchase any account or data obtained from us or our service, which is great. Like TRAs are in for a fucking shock, because they're building CRMs and all of these things off the back of these. And to dox people, this is actually we can get them on this, right? You can't post someone else's private or confidential information without permission or do anything that violates someone else's rights. Now, again, there's a discussion about that, but I think more and more you just got crazy people screaming about their rights. They shouldn't be on the committees. They shouldn't get heard. But I think I have a very strong feeling that this is working itself out, and that people realized that the gender thing was a slight like overreach, and they weren't aware of what's going on, but they see enough crazy people, right? And things correct. I do strongly believe, as much as I'm critical and about the man and the systems and stuff, I do have a faith in systems. The system works beautifully. The United States is an exception. They're fucked. But everyone else, polite society, non-chewers, non-loud chewers, the rest of us, sane people, right, who aren't so fucking turned into brain, like scrambled egg for brains, that they can't see that like they're being fucked, right? But everyone else, reasonable, sensible, has figured this shit out, okay? You don't have the right to abuse people. Jesus. Okay. Now this is cool. So it's obviously, so they've got, and also, and this is where the influencer stuff comes in, and it's really interesting for me, because one of the things that, with MLM for a start, business community, the social media marketing community, affiliate marketing, all of those sorts of things, the business cults, there's 10X, all those con job fucking things that you see, make money, get rich quick schemes, and they start to, this is the counterfeit stuff is interesting. You can't post, right, someone else's, so it's quite unclear, so you can't post someone else's confidential information without permission, or do anything that violates someone else's rights, including counterfeit goods. And it says you can't post it. And I find it really interesting, because it seems like they're correcting this scams, this influencer stuff. Like the Fire Festival and that sort of smoke and mirrors stuff around Instagram. It's very clear about the kind of culture that they're trying to build. Like this idea that, there's this woman, and because Instagram is 100% about fake lives, right? Curating this fake existence that you don't have. But what would be interesting is if you see someone selling, like sitting in a rented private jet with a knockoff Louis Vuitton purse, selling business advice or coaching. That's going to be an interesting thing to watch around how that might actually work on some of those things, right? MLM is multi-level marketing. So think like, the essential oils, Amway, doTERRA, all those sorts of organized pyramid schemes, right? There's a lot of them that exist, and wokeism is it's all a pyramid scheme anyway. So the Democrats are basically ran their campaign on a pyramid scheme. American politics is a pyramid scheme. It's ridiculous. So anyway, moving on. But pirated goods as well. So that's interesting, because I'm sitting here thinking about how there's a whole culture built around this on Instagram, around people curating these fake lifestyles with counterfeit goods. It's interesting. I'm curious to see how that goes. because it's a big problem. It's a big problem. I think that this is it's actually kind of a interesting solution to see if they enforce it. That said, again, I said this is not about, it's not a manifesto, it's not prescriptive. What it is protects them legally. So if Louis Vuitton, if they promote, sorry, one sec, let me plug my phone in, it's going flat. If they promote, let's say Louis Vuitton sees someone with a knockoff bag and they're making money on some sort of branded content and Louis Vuitton's to Instagram, that protects them. So again, it's not so much that they're going to go after people with counterfeit stuff, but they're going to, you know, they're legally protected. That's how I think it works. So, again, whatever. So you can't, yeah, so here we go. So you may use someone else's works under exceptions or limitations to copyright and related rights under applicable law. So memeing's still fine, okay? All that stuff. And also that you represent, I actually have this exact same clause in my contract that I say I am not checking whether you've got copyright on any images that you provide or licenses for fonts and stuff. I assume that you've got that. If you are sued, you're on your own. If I breach copyright, then it's me, but it's the same thing. So this is all fairly bog standard. So you can't modify, translate, create derivative works of, or reverse engineer our products or their components. That's interesting because that seems to be like them. Some of the people that I showed you how to mock up an Instagram post. So that would be interesting. So that covers those screenshotting generators as well, technically, right? This one's a weird one, but that's always been a policy. I think it's more just you can't direct because they're trying to make sure that it's not a linky, spammy hell. I think it's a strange clause, but presumably it's not been a problem up until now. It's not new, so it's just an odd thing to say. Because I'm like, yeah, most people have their website and their username, and they're like, yeah, it's interesting. Anyway, this is all just like I'm not going to keep going. But I think they're trying to do the right thing here, right? So if you select a username or similar identifier for your account, we may change it if we believe it appropriate or necessary. For example, if it infringes someone's intellectual property or impersonates another user. Again, that's good, right? Graham's got this problem with Twitter, right? Again, they've got all this process, so we can remove any content or information you share on the server. So this is the top level. Now, this is all just what happens if you, again, let's just move on. You can read it. Now, so what they do is they refer to the community guidelines, right? Which are interesting and fairly common sense. As long as you're not haggling over the words, right? And I think that that's the problem, is that people who aren't good at context and good at nuance and good at fucking degrees and good at being pragmatic are so fixated on the definition of a word that they they just throw out all of the fucking interpretation. And so it means there's lots of things, right? And there's some of those debates are occurring. All right, let me give a break. I fucking need some water. Yeah. Okay. I might have a break and come back in a minute. I really need water. Actually, yes, I'm going to have a break. And what I'll do, so they define this stuff, right? I'm going to have a break and we'll go through this again. I'll just give me a minute. And I need a break screen, don't I? I do. I'm just going to put this one on. This one annoys you. I'm just going to show you my screens. I'm just going to take 2 minutes because I'm fucking, I need water and I just need to get my head together. I like this strategy. I might get like 15 minutes of usable content out of it, but you can drop in or drop out, doesn't matter. Let me just I'm going to go to this segment. Okay. And then we will come back and I'll just be 2 minutes. I'll get some water and clear my throat and, get the pubes out of my throat and all that sort of stuff. I'll be back in a minute. All right. Sorry about that. Oh, when I have it in studio mode, it doesn't work. The macro doesn't work. Oh well, I had to try and figure it out. Okay. So we're quickly going to go through this, and then I'll show you just quickly, and then I'm going to go because I've got to watch this back and make some clips. But okay, so we've got the Instagram policy, right? It's meant to be overarching. There's hundreds of things. They all interact. Look, they define things. So if you read one policy that is meant to introduce all of the others and then react to the words there, okay, then you're being a fuckwit because they're all defined. And if that's not defined here, then it's defined on Facebook. And if it's not defined on Facebook, it's chest tested in the courts. Okay, that's the thing. There's a process. Stop reacting. So the short community guidelines. Okay, I'm not going to hark on this because I can do a few more. But we want Instagram to continue to be an authentic and safe place for inspiration and expression. Help us foster this community. Post only your own photos and videos and always follow the law. Respect everyone on Instagram. Don't spam people or post nudity. And then some fuckwit goes, oh, what's the meaning of respect? And then they wax lyrical with a fucking 23-page thread of their own interpretation of all of the things that it could be when they've actually fucking defined it. That's what it's like. It's an introduction, okay? It's meant to be user-friendly and readable. Fucking hell. And then they got the long, and it refers. Look how many documents. Look. Terms of use, right? Disabled accounts, intellectual property rights, nudity, which is the one I'm going to show you. They've got a specific policy on nude or partially nude children, which I didn't know about, right? And that was the one that got my old account caught because I just, I had a picture. It was actually a funny picture. But this was years ago. This was what, 2013, I think. Tips for parents page. They clarify things. Spam. Fake and misleading user reviews. Impersonate others. These things defined. Hate groups defined. Sexual services defined. These are normal. This is like, firearms, alcohol, tobacco. All these things defined. Regulated goods. And it's people's job, right, to then produce all of this stuff and make sure this is defined as time goes on. So if it's not linked to, eventually they will make sure that that's what a policy department does. They've got the policy people. So what they'll do is they'll sit down and they'll go, okay, I imagine they've probably got projects, right, on this selling, and they write a policy document that clarifies that and defines it. Then what's a private individual? They'll write a policy that defines that and clarifies it. That's how it all interacts. And if it's not there, then the courts figure it out. Okay? Fucking being dickheads. Now, regulated goods, defined. Okay, all these things. Okay? Again, you can look at this stuff. Actually, let's look at the hate speech policy quickly. Right? It's Facebook. See, this is the funny thing where they're like, oh, Facebook's terms of service don't apply to this document, but they're referring to Facebook's hate speech policy, right? Which is good because Facebook are actually doing okay with some of this stuff. Right now, we've got to define hate speech, but that's fuckwits on the internet defining what hate is. Good luck in court. Okay, that's the thing. It's just pending. It hasn't happened yet. Okay, hasn't been defined. Okay, now most judges in that situation would say, well, hate speech as defined in law unless it's legislated accordingly, and this is why the Scottish legislation is concerning. But again, they'll leave holes in it and the process works. Be patient. It just takes a while. Give it a minute. Now, but if you sit there fixating on one fucking word, you don't understand politics. Okay? I'm just going to be honest with you. You don't understand how the law works. You don't understand the political system. You're being a pedant is what you're being. Okay? And you're actually those people that don't get invited to meetings because you're the person that derails a meeting into fucking pointless shit 24/7. Okay? And that's part of my frustration with some of the gender critical stuff is that there's people are so fixated on like it's shuffling deck chairs on the Titanic, and it's like, well, can we plug the holes first and just like can we, like they'll go down with the ship over fucking dumb pointless details. Anyway, so yeah, it's like, well, yeah, and that was what I was saying earlier about, well, technically you're correct. Is it the right? Yeah, I think, technically, yes, you're correct. So, You're a lot of people in the culture wars are those people that pull out a dictionary at a party. Rather than just, have fun and drink and try to get along and don't be a fuckwit. So anyway, so we've got that. So this is the thing that made me laugh. So let's end it with some lighthearting, right? Technically, I'm also a dick. Yeah, I am. I don't, but again, I will take it on board, and I don't, whatever. Also, you spelt the "you're" wrong. Yes, I'm that person. Anyway, so this made me laugh, because imagine, just put yourself in the shoes of people who have to write this stuff. I would have laughed at this. Right. Sorry, yeah. Oh, okay, sorry, Philip. So Philip said, like that OnlyFans chick that posted a pic of herself in the buff when she was 3, and everyone was like, what the fuck? She charged for PC. I don't get it. Okay, yeah, whatever. I don't understand. What was I going to say? Well, yeah, and also algorithms don't detect jokes or irony. But Facebook actually, and this is why I wanted to talk about this specific policy, which is that they're figuring shit out. They're just figuring it out, okay? And when you actually see the written documents, there's all these people that fucking talk about what could happen or what is happening and how sinister it is. But is it going to happen? Probably not. Or it might happen once before fucking sanity kicks in. That's what we're seeing with gender stuff. Yes, you can argue about the loopholes and you can argue about the potential for this. And there is a time and a place to do that. Talking about the unintended consequences of policy is important, and raising it. But fixating on the fact that it's going to happen like it's a fucking done deal, because it's not prescription, pardon me, because it's not I can't say it. What happened there? I can say prescriptive. Whatever. But, because it's not absolutely detailed down to the letter, which again I've pointed out, it's better to have vague terms than too much detail, because too much detail is how you fucking lose in court, not how you win. And, it's just like, because statutory interpretation kicks in, and it's like, well, fucking the role of the judge, like fucking, is to just say, yeah, we know what that fucking meant. Don't be a dickhead and stop wasting the court's time, Yaniv. Right? That's the thing, okay? Like, I'm just frustrated with people who don't have any training, or they think they're doing well when they're actually just, like I said, they're just focusing on the silly details. Yes, you can warn on things and warn for unintended consequences, and yes, there's loopholes and all those things, but most loopholes are only discovered to be loopholes when they're out in the wild, like bugs. You can't, okay, this is the same thing with with website project management, okay? And these are waterfall fucking thinkers, right? They have a project that never goes live, ever. It'll never go live. Let me start again. Waterfall people, okay? They have a project that'll never, ever go live because there's this is a bad project manager versus a good one. Okay, and this is the difference between a lean project manager and a waterfall project manager, is that you've got these waterfall fuckwits who are constantly just always waiting to check. You end up with a 5-year-old fucking web project that is out of date by the time it launches, because that person is sitting there just fucking like whatever. It's like, no, you got to have something up. Okay, you got to balance it, and it's just like, it's not about it's not being reckless. Right? It's about people who are just, there's a time and a place for details, and holding processes back and holding back good things actually makes you a fuckwit. Okay? Now, a lot of things can be sorted out in the courts. That's the role of the courts. Okay? It's why they exist. The courts have always existed to arbitrate misunderstandings of law. Okay? That's their role. Okay? Now, and that's the thing, is like in the policy cycle, there's an opportunity to raise any potential unintended consequences, okay, or raise any risk, or raise any things like that, or raise any issues. But there comes a point where you still got to pass the fucking thing, okay? And that was my problem. I think that's my problem with the conversion bill. I think opposing the conversion therapy bill is a fucking bad idea. I think the optics of it are terrible. And I think that, you can't win it because you end up looking like you oppose conversion therapy. What you need to do is work on legislation that's better and clearer. And that's the thing that that's the conflict between lawyers and policy people. Policy people understand that the policy, that can be sorted out in the courts, and it largely won't happen. Right? Exactly. Letting the perfect be the enemy of the good. But also these fucking people who focus on bullshit. They're staring at fucking like that and deck chairs on the Titanic stuff. Thinkers, people like that. And also in design thinking, there's people who design around, because I'm a good project manager designs around the 95% that everyone can agree on, and the 5% later. There's people, and Paul's the opposite to me. He likes to design around exceptions, and you can't function that way. Nothing gets done if you design around exceptions. I design around, like you have plans and a process to handle exceptions, but you don't let exceptions derail the whole fucking process. And that's the problem with extremism and activism in general, is people who, it's like, if it's not my way, then I'm going to kill the whole fucking thing, and I'm going to take my ball and I'm going to go home and fuck yous all. It's like, no, that's not how you work in a society. And that's why I've talked about this before. Activists should not be doing policy work. Policy people should be engaging with activists, but activists should never be allowed to hold a process hostage. And that's my view on that. But it's the same thing with, with anything, project management. There's one stakeholder who won't fucking sign off on something because they don't get fucking something that they don't want. And it's like, well, good on you. Aren't you a fucking hero? All right. Technically, you might be right. Okay. But sometimes there's other people in this world who think things, and we've got to find a compromise. And that's my frustration. I can't even remember what my point was. Anyway, that's the role of policy people. Why are there no policy people being engaged? Maybe because the policy people are too busy actually doing work on policy than arguing on the internet. But again, lawyers are not policy people either. Lawyers are trained to see problems with things and angles and ways to get away with things and, protect you. Policy people are generally more optimistic, right? They're generally more, what's the word? Policy people are generally more, generally more optimistic, right? And yes, there are blind spots in that. Yes, there is a naivety, but that's what the courts are for. Different things. Lawyers shouldn't write policy for a start. Because lawyers are not social scientists. Anyway. Fuck me. It's almost like policy and these things are actual fucking professions or something. It's almost like to be done well, you need training in that specific thing and that specific process. Lawyers aren't trained in the policy cycle. Nor are comedians. Or gender studies graduates. People who have degrees in policy are trained in the policy cycle. Anyway, so, I'm not pulling rank, I'm just saying, right? I know that, there's that fucking whatever it's called, but I'm just saying, it's almost like it's a fucking profession. It's almost like sound is a profession and lighting is a profession, and you can't do everything. There you go. Circle back for 3 hours. Now, let's talk about fuck me. I am actually just incredibly frustrated with all of this culture, this stuff. I'm right. And if you don't agree with me, there must be something wrong with you. Either you're stupid or you're evil, or I have the right to engage in ad hominem attack just because you disagree. No, I disagree. And also, even if you are correct and I disagree, I might disagree for reasons like that I have different values, right? That I actually don't believe that being 100% right all of the time and correct in everything is a way to a happy life. Would you rather be right or be happy? Same thing, right? And it's just frustrating. It's almost like people have different values and they have different priorities in life. And that, and I'm not having a go at any one particular feminist or person, but I don't know how people sustain that kind of energy all of the time on one thing and it not make them a bit fucked in the head. I'm sorry, but it's like gender people or anyone, woke people, anyone who dedicates their life to obsessively talking about the problems in one fucking issue, they're not interesting people. I have a more rounded view on things. And it's like there's things that, and I also have been in a marriage where we fought over details and that marriage fell apart. I am now in a very extremely healthy marriage where we disagree and we agree to disagree and we chill and we let shit go, and you're a lot happier. And it's a lot more harmonious. And we actually get a lot done. It's better. Okay? And that's the thing. Do you want to be in a power struggle all the time with everyone? Right? A fight, a scramble for attention and likes and clicks and fucking bullshit and power and money and resources. And yes, capitalism is largely to blame for this, and US narcissism largely to blame for this shit. But at the same time, right? Would you rather be right or happy? And I'm starting to think that, I used to enjoy being right and I was fucking miserable. I'm okay. I'm happy with being wrong now. Right? I'm happy to be wrong about PHP too. Okay? Don't care because it's not my priority. My priority is fucking putting food on the table for my kids and I could set up do you know what? If I was in the business of like making the correct decisions, I wouldn't be doing this. If I was in the business of, I would just go and fucking sell out and go back to tech consulting and set up an agency and shit out bullshit fucking, canvas shit for a living, make a fucking, I don't think people know how good the retainers are. If you get on a retainer with a fucking big corporation or two, you're a millionaire. I could just do that. But I don't. Because it's not that's not the right decision. It's not the logical decision because I'm senior and I've got all the fucking resources, but I don't. Why is that? Because there's more to life than being right. There's more to me than what I do. And facts and being an encyclopedia of fucking things. Right? I'm just sick of all of this tribal bullshit about every fucking thing. I reckon I could say this pen is great. And someone would fucking arc up that it's not a black pen. It's like, fucking hell. Like, look at that. Blue pen. I'm in trouble now. I like blue. Anyway. What was I talking about? Oh, yeah, the nudity policy. Let's just go through this. It's pretty funny. I'm just like, I think I'm just getting frustrated with single-mindedness and black and white thinking just across the board. I lived with, my ex-husband is a black and white kind of person. And do you know how unpleasant they are to be around? Very unpleasant to be around. Because I didn't fit his idea of a wife and I didn't fit his idea of those sorts, all of those things. Being on the receiving end of black and white thinkers is awful, right? You're either with us or against us, or you're right or you're wrong. It's either facts or not. It's either ruled by science, It's like, well, no, yes, that science, that's not what science does. Science builds upon knowledge and yes, it's the most authoritative source we have for things, but science misses stuff too. Okay, it's just, I think that there is emerging science for gender identity, and I think that there's a compelling biological case. I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to talk about that, but it's called being fucking open-minded and actually curious about things, not just, I'm not going to say the word bigot because it's a bit extreme, but that's lost all fucking meaning. But, if you're rigid in your thinking and obsessively fucking pursuing one thing over and over again, it's not healthy. It's not good for you. It's not good for you. Like I said, I fucking am qualified in politics and in this stuff. I'm probably one of the most uniquely positioned people to comment on these things. And I'm fucking sick of it. And I think you're all nuts and obsessed. And I have a fucking degree in it. Maybe because I got more shit going on in my life, and maybe you need to look at that. Anyway, so let's look at the nudity thing and then I'll go. So this is funny. So this is the Facebook adult nudity and sexual activity policy, right? So they, again, policy rationale. So the devil's in the details with policy. So they actually, people don't dig deep into these things, and that's annoying. Reacting to the Instagram terms of service is basically like reading the headline, except you think you sound smart because you read a few more words. But it's basically the same thing because you didn't actually go into detail. So the policy rationale, we restrict the display of nudity or sexual activity because some people in our community may be sensitive to this type of content, which is true. Also, in the United States, this is Section 230. The foundation of Section 230 was around obscene content. American Puritanism is the fucking cause of this. Also, there's 13-year-olds on the platform. Okay, so they can't be perceived, they can't have an age 13 sign up, and this also is considered obscene. And all these child protection laws and all these other things that kick in. Okay, fuck. Additionally, we default to removing sexual imagery to prevent the sharing of non-consensual or underage content. Real problem. Okay, real problem. Restrictions on the display of sexual activity. Again, fuckwits ruin everything. I understand that. See, that's the thing. There's two ways you can look at this. I shouldn't have posted a picture of my kid's bum on the internet. I didn't think it through, right? Was that my right? Okay, I don't think in retrospect, at the time, it was a new thing and it was exciting and funny and it was a stupid smart-ass thing. But in retrospect, is that really cool for him? Nah. Right? Parents don't have the right to... This is why you won't see me posting many pictures of my kids anymore, because they're getting older and it's their life now. And also because mummy blogging, I went through all of that and I realized that actually hurts the kid when you're talking about their shit online and they don't have control over their own fucking life and brand and messaging. That's a thing, and that's coming up now. I saw Reese Witherspoon's kid take issue with that, right? These are real issues. Anyway, so I accept the fact that I actually have gone from, thinking that it was a bit uptight and ridiculous because I couldn't behave myself, to actually thinking that they had a point about this. We shouldn't be posting kids, in general, I don't think we should be posting pictures of our kids on the internet, right? Especially given that Facebook knows when you're pregnant before you are. They've got fucking cradle to grave tracking of this kid. It's awful. So anyway, restrictions on the display of sexual activity also apply to digitally created content. So anime, hentai shit, right? Unless it is posted for educational, humorous, or satirical purposes. So they're explicitly clear that humor is fine. Okay? So the ironic use of the eggplant emoji, fine! Our nudity policies have become more nuanced over time. We understand that nudity can be shared for a variety of reasons, including as a form of protest, to raise awareness about a cause or for educational or medical reasons. Where such intent is clear, we make allowances for the content. For example, while we restrict some images of female breasts that include the nipple, we allow others, including those depicting acts of protest, women actively engaged in breastfeeding, and photos of post-mastectomy scarring. Now! Okay? This is the policy. If people ran it. The algorithms make these decisions and they're going to get false positives. Jack has been clear, as has Zuck, that these algorithms are immature. Machine learning technology is not anywhere near as advanced as people think it is, and it's going to make mistakes. But when it makes mistakes and the human moderators override it, that then gets fed back into the machine learning, systems. Well, I'm just being, it gets fed back in, right? And you learn from the mistakes. Okay? So we're getting there. Now, for images, I just find how the do's and don'ts make me laugh because I just imagine writing this. It is pretty funny because I'm a child, right? For example, while we restrict, where are we? Okay, for images depicting visible genitalia or the anus in the context of birth and after birth moments or health-related situations, we include a warning label so that people are aware that the content may be sensitive. I don't want to fucking see that anyway. We also allow photographs of paintings, sculptures, and other art that depicts nude figures. But again, the algorithms pick them up wrong. There's that famous photo from the 70s in Vietnam, right? And it got reinstated. It was an algorithmic thing, right? Now, this is funny because just think about this as a fucking how-to guide. It's just funny. Do not post images of Real nude adults, where nudity is defined as visible genitalia, except in the context of giving birth and after-birth moments or health-related situations. For example, gender confirmation surgery, fucking whatever, examination for cancer or disease prevention or assessment. I just love the fucking... I want a band. This is the best band name I've ever seen. Visible anus. Visible anus and or fully nude close-ups of buttocks. I always say buttocks. Buttocks. Unless photoshopped on a public figure. Uncovered female nipples, except in the context, again, context, birth giving. See, everyone's like, oh, they fucking free the... No, the algorithm fucked up. Calm down. Uncovered female nipples, blah, blah, blah. Okay, anyway. But I just love how they've prescribed it. Sexual activity, including sexual intercourse. So all of these things. I just love that they've defined it. This image may contain visible anus. I just want to do a whole stream on the words visible anus. It's fucking hilarious. But I just thought people go, what is nudity? It's defined here. Right there. It's there. Right here. Right there. It's written down. Dummies. Fucking react. But you don't get a reaction video out of that, do you? You get a 4-hour stream. Anyway, look. Explicit sexual intercourse, defined as mouth or genitals entering or in contact with another person's genitals or anus, where at least one person's genitals are nude. Implied sexual intercourse, defined as mouth or genitals entering or in contact with another person's genitals or anus, even when the contact is not directly visible, except in cases of sexual health context, ads and recognised fictional images or with indicators of fiction. See, this is the thing where sex workers are like, oh, I can't fucking solicit sex online. Yeah. Probably shouldn't. 13-year-olds on here. Fuckhead. Okay. Implies stimulation of genitalia. Sorry, my stutter then. Implied stimulation of genitalia /anus. I'm 5. Defined as stimulating genitalia /anus or inserting objects into genitalia /anus. I'm going to get... Even when the activity is not directly visible, except in cases of sexual health context, advertisements and recognised fictional images or with indicators of fiction. Other sexual activities including, but not limited to, erections. Presence of byproducts of sexual activity. That's what. Presence of byproducts of sexual activity. Stimulating genitals or anus, even if above or under clothing. Use of sex toys, even if above or under clothing. Stimulation of naked human. Are you horny right now? Are you turned on? Squeezing female breasts, defined as a grabbing motion with curved fingers that shows both marks and clear shape change of the breast. We allow squeezing in breastfeeding context. I wish I had this job. I would have fucking laughed this would have been my favourite job in the world, was defining and writing this shit down. That's funny. I wish that, see, that's the thing, is that these policies, there's a person who fucking sat down and wrote this and it was like their job to get this project and published and shit. This is so funny. Anyway, fetish content that involves acts that are likely to lead to the death of a person or animal. Just a moment, I'm not going to say it. Cannibalism. Why are there no outrage videos on behalf of the fucking cannibalist fetish community? Cannibalist cannibal fetish rights are human rights. No debate. Feces, urine, spit, snot, menstruation or vomit. I just love how they're explicit about the fucking fluids. Sweat's okay. Is it? Yep, sweat's fine. Digital content that meets our definition of sexual activity. See, again, this is where these detail word fucks go. Well, you didn't say what do you mean by urine? I think you're missing the point. Digital content. Yeah, anyway. So here we go. This is where they show content to individuals aged 18 and over. Real world art that depicts sexual activity. Posting photographs or videos of objects that depict sexual activity in real world art. Now, I'm pretty sure that there's some people who think that they're artists. I'm pretty sure that artists don't have an OnlyFans account. They're probably on Patreon more than fucking there. But anyway, whatever. You do you. Implied sexual activity in advertisements because the law says they can't do that. That's illegal. That's an advertising standards code. Implied sexual activity in recognized fictional images or with indicators of fiction. Now, all this stuff, right? Now, this is important. This is where fucking sex workers are complaining. Problem is, you're advertising your business with sexual stuff. The problem is in the advertising code, not with Instagram. Okay? So if you want to fight it, fight the fucking ad codes. Ad standards or whoever, ACMA, whoever, it's ACMA in Australia. I don't know who it is here. But that's why all of the, like YouTube, like things get demonetized so much. It's the ad standards, not the actual individual platforms and their policy. This is how they comply with these things. Again, Section 230, obscene content, and it's explicitly about, and also the ad standards. It's the law, it's the way that the statutes work. It's not policy of the fucking platforms to do this. They're not picking on sex workers. They're protecting themselves and trying to comply. Okay? Anyway, I just thought that was funny. So, I've done a really long stream. I know this is long. It's a new way of doing things, which is just where I got to fucking, first of all, I got to live in here. Second of all, I got to fucking watch this back and now try to clip the thing. So if you ended up watching it and there was a particular thing that you liked, please give me, and you want a timestamp, help me out. That would be good, but I'm going to watch it back and make some clips. This one wasn't really, I'm going to try and have more segments with a bit more focus. It's just time of year. And the first time I'm doing it this way, I realized that I need breaks and I need drink breaks and I need I need to just stop and rest because I wander off in tangents, which is great because this is not my mainstream anymore, right? Because there'll be the actual content. So this is like you're in the studio audience type of thing, which is fine. I can go random and rant and whatever. But at the same time, but I also will start probably repeating myself a bit more than usual as well. Because that's anyway, I also did this as a practice because first of all I want to get the segments flowing well, see if 2 minutes is long enough. I don't think a 2-minute break is long enough, so I might make it 5 minutes between each one. And if you want to show up, you can show up. I might do it and it doesn't mean that that's the only time. If something really strikes me, I'll still do streams of old and all that sort of stuff. I'm still just going to do this, but this is just the way that I can have a workflow that works for me where, I can just now, it's all set up and I can chop it up. But I've still got some titles and things to make and, content. I'm light on the content. That's the thing. High on the rants. I haven't been reading anything. I've been taking a break. I've been swimming in the pool. Fucking eating fish and chips and not supposed to eat gluten. So feeling good. Hungover. But we'll get back into it and I'll try to be a bit more structured. But yeah, I'm going to also do join my Discord if you can, because that's going to be the place where you get chat privileges. If I do clips and that stuff and it does grow, I don't want dickheads crashing my feed. Also, the color grading's a bit off in the background. It's a little bit pixelated. I think up the saturation on the curtains a little bit for contrast, and it doesn't. Yeah, that's annoying. But then that's good. That's why I do it. I've tested it. See if the format. Again, crash test dummy. Right. See if my hypothesis is correct about big mega streams with segments, and then I can edit. And as long as I do as much in real time as I possibly can and have a turn off the chat thing because I think there's a risk there where chats will look like they're all disconnected, but we'll figure stuff out. And then I'll turn chats on at the end and we'll catch up and Q&A. Same old Taya. Nothing's changed. I just need to put some focus back on it. This one was way too long, but I imagine they're probably going to go this long from now on because there'll be some stuff in there. I'll probably only get 1 or 2 clips out of this, but that was the idea. But if you want to support me, Go to my website. I'm actually going to do a welcome video and a memberships video and all of those sorts of things, and try to explain roughly where people can find things. If you can recommend a segment, feel free. But I think I've covered most of them. I don't expect anyone to watch this back. So let's keep this little thing between you and me. And I apologize if I reacted to you. I apologize. What I need to do is maybe, rather than acknowledge chatters, apologize at the end to people that fucking what I do is I use the interaction as a launch pad, and then I just go off. And then people perceive that I'm having a go at them when I'm not. It's improving off the back of them, and I'm off roasting a fucking straw man person that exists over here because you reminded me of a thing and triggered me, and it's like, it's best material. But it's not. If I'm still friends with you, I'm not. I've got no beef, and if I've got an issue with you, I'm one of those people. If I've got an issue with you, a specific one, then I will usually bring it up. It's not something. I'm not passive aggressive like that. It's not my style. I'm aggressive. No. So let's just keep this thing going. I'll try and do more segments. I'll try and get it a bit more organized. Do expect more kind of breaks and things so that I can do stuff, and keep an eye out for the edited uploads. That should be good. I like it. I'll do some more educational stuff, but I'm thinking that the consulting needs to be separate and it needs to be paid for at a premium. I'm always available as a consultant, and I know my shit. I don't give away shit for free. Fuck off. No. So I don't give away anything that anyone can make money from for free. So anyway, I'm going to go. And also, I don't know, I might do a thing where I talk about YouTube setups and things, just because there's a lot of, I've navigated a lot of stuff with this, and I've learned that there's a lot of bad information out there, a lot of bad advice. But I did talk about it early on in the stream, where I was like, I just spent 2 years not being afraid of YouTube, not being afraid of the camera, and being, and all that goes with it. But now I think I'm ready to just not ignore the advice, like do all the things I know I'm supposed to do, and everyone tells me to do, but I don't do it because I was not part of my strategy. But now I can sort of feel comfortable to do that, because I would never stream, never do anything if I was expected to do all of the post-production work and content stuff and planning and everything. I'm just good at riffing, and if a clip comes out of it, then a clip comes out of it, and we'll just figure it out together. But let's build a good community. Let's try to make a community where people aren't fuckwits. Because basically, as I tell you more and more stories over the years, you'll realize that pretty much no community is free of fuckwits. But can we try to have a fuckwit-free community? Well, I'm a fuckwit, so I can just be the only fuckwit. Anyway, go to my Patreon if you can afford to, and not, I don't know. But it's a fucking no. Everyone's like broke as fuck. But if you can afford it and you want to support me, that'd be really cool. I really like it. It helps me. It encourages me. It motivates me. And the only reason that I don't shut it all down a lot of the time is because there's people who seem to value my contribution enough to pay for my time and money. So that's really cool. Time and money. Pay for my time and stuff. So I'm hoping to get better. And thank you for those that have basically been patrons with no fucking reward. I appreciate that very much. Because I'm not I'm a relational person. I'm not a transactional thinker. So it's just not my wiring. If you want to support me, you can. If you don't, that's cool too. Things will come. Things work themselves out. But I'm not that sort of a transactional person. You did that, therefore I must owe you. I don't think that way. I think things work themselves out. Just be good. Be a good person. Be nice to people. Put things out there. Be honest. Be authentic. And things have a tendency to work themselves out. So I'm going to go. Yeah, I think I'm going. I'm definitely going to read out that nudity policy thing. That will be a clip, because that is actually fucking legitimately funny. But people don't know that it's like, oh, define hate. It is defined. What do they mean by nudity? And can I breastfeed? Yes! It's defined. It's written there. It's algorithms. Okay? Now, the problem is that they also need to, I think we're all just going to end up working in content moderation at Facebook. That's going to be our only jobs. That's going to be the next fucking, factory line is everyone just feeding the algorithm and correcting it. But I think that that's where, people don't understand how immature these like machine learning things are. But it is defined. And Facebook and Twitter should stop fucking being cheap cunts when it comes to workers and actually hire more moderation staff, more policy people, and they're doing that. They are doing that. But, all this half-cocked fucking culture wars bullshit's not helping. It's not fucking helping. You're reacting to headlines, okay? Don't be a dickhead. Be more smart, less dumb. More smart, less dumb. Don't be dumb. I'm dumb, but I know it and I admit it. Anyway, I love you. Thank you for your precious life seconds, especially if you stuck around for the whole fucking thing. What's wrong with you? Jesus Christ. Just tell her, whatever. What's wrong with you, stalker? Anyway, I love you. I appreciate it. Thank you. I love you. Thank you for your precious life seconds. If you want to support me, go to my website, join my Discord where we're chatting, tealou.xyz, tealou.xyz. It directs you. It takes you through a sign-up process. It's pretty straightforward. It's like WhatsApp or Telegram or anything, but Discord just has a lot more integration and stuff with Patreon and those sorts of features, and this live stream, and especially if you're looking to have chat privileges. As I grow, eventually I will be only making it so that only the Discord shows up because of fuckwits. I'm the only fuckwit allowed in my community. Okay. I love you. What day is it today? I don't know what day it is. Are we looking? Hang on. What's the date? Yeah, I'll probably do a New Year's Eve stream. Let's do a fuck 2020 stream. I was going to do a year in review, so I'll do that. What day is that? 31st. Is there 30 days in December or 30? I always forget. 31. Okay. I might stream before that because I've got all this gear and I'm excited, but I'll see how we go. But yeah, I'll do a New Year's Eve thing. I love you. Bye. Oh yeah, hang on. One thing. I can't. My phone went flat. That's a bummer. Okay. I need to get an actual Stream Deck, I think. I thought I could get away with the mobile app. Turns out, phone goes flat if you use Stream Deck and it fucking kills all the juice. Okay. Even when it was plugged in. So that's fucking stupid. Okay. I love you. We've got lots of gifts and stuff. Recommend me gifts. No, Pepe. I'm trying to distance myself from that shit. Okay. I love that. 31st is Thursday. Like I know what fucking day it is. I've been thinking that it's Tuesday for the last 4 days. I don't know. Thursday means nothing to me at the moment. I have no concept. Every Christmas, I lose fucking complete track of all the days. Because all my clients go on holiday, which means even though I'm kind of around, but Paul's changing jobs, so we don't know what fucking day it is. I have no idea. I know today's Tuesday. I knew that. But I thought it was Tuesday yesterday and I thought it was Tuesday the day before. So we got there. See, we get there in the end. Eventually you get to Tuesday. So I'll see you next Tuesday, shall I? I should stream on Tuesdays just so I can say see you next Tuesday at the end of every stream. All right. I love you very much. So do your shit, whatever. Stay nice. And calm the fuck down, everyone. Bye.